All right. So we're going to go straight into the back today. So right here, let's just we're going to start right here. The let's start with the end, right? The actual submission or naked choke. So there's we're going to go into how to control the back today, but I also want to make sure we just start with the end in mind. So rear naked choke. First off, it's not just this, obviously. It's not necessarily like this whole thing that you've seen for years where we grab the back of the head. Let's take a little bit. Not to say it can't be this, but this is the rear naked choke has evolved past this. Okay. It's evolved past just like this and deep breath and stuff. Like, not to say it doesn't work, but we figured out even better ways of doing it. So what we're going to be looking to do is I'm looking to get this under the chin, and I'm looking to grab deep back on this trap up here. You'll see me kind of start to kind of cut my hand in as much as I can just to round that corner. Once I have the space occupied, and this is like in the middle of the grip fighting sequence, right? Like we're down here, and I'm working, and I finally get up under that chin. This is where now I'm ready to start attacking the submission. I don't want to do it when my hand's up here, but when he's still got a good defensive hand inside. Like, I don't want to take this underhook out and give up control, start trying to choke him when I don't actually have a good choke set, okay? So everything starts with setting the choke. So for this, I want you guys to drill this real quick. You're going to up and back. We're going to kind of round the corner with our hand. And then I'm going to put my chin on top of it. And I'm going to be ear to ear with it, all right? Next thing I'm going to do is we probably had an underhook here, right? We're going to bring this out. I'm going to now take this to my front belt right here on my shoulder. I'm not going to take it to the back of his head. I'm going to concave my chest enough to make some room to my chest is room right now, but I concave a little bit. I concave my shoulders, roll my shoulders forward, and now it makes a little bit of room right there. I grab my deltoid, the top of my shoulder here, and then my hand here can transfer to this delt or bicep, whatever. Next, I'm staying ear to ear. My chin is staying on top of my hand, and I'm not going to squeeze as much as I'm going to retract that right elbow and follow it with my face. Right? So I'm not squeezing because I can still talk to you while I do this. Okay? Let's see if another angle. Check. Chad was like,
wake up, Chad.
No,
If I could tap early, I would tap earlier.
all right, so right here. Okay, two details I want to make sure we cover is the purpose of when I say set the choke. I'm saying just reach back and grab the back. There is a little more to it than that. If I'm just coming up and I'm grabbing like here, like out here on the belt, right? There's a lot of artery here that I'm not covering at all, right? Let's turn it a little bit. Right? If I especially when we're upright like this, right? We have even a little bit of a like a height advantage here. If this is as deep as I get, there's still a good amount of neck here I can see, right? So when I say I'm coming up and I'm rounding the corner, the purpose we're trying to accomplish is covering as much of the artery with our forearm as possible, right? Make sure that we're nice and deep under there. Because now, like, I can even finish with one arm, okay? But, like, if I'm out here, never going to happen, right? I'm just going to eventually fall over or keep going to come out, right? So I want to make sure the purpose of coming up is you've got to figure out everybody's neck is different, their arm different, everybody's bigger or scrawny or all this, right? I want to make sure that we're coming up, and I'm always just aiming to come as far back as I can get it. So you want to find that spot where I can take up all the available space as much as I possibly can reach. And then I'm going to hide my hand. Okay. Next, so that's one thing. Because if we're out here, even if we go lock it in, you're going to feel like you're not finishing it. And you're going to start squeezing and all this stuff, and you're going to feel like you're working way harder than you should be. So out here, get everything nice and lined up. My next thing, first off, also, if your back is taken, go ahead and drill with a little bit of intention where you've got some form of defensive hands, right? Right? You don't have to have max resistance, but like at least train some good habits. All right. So if I've got you locked in like this, like better believe they're not just gonna have their hands down by their side. All right. So next up, I want to make sure I maintain all this. I don't want to give any ground back. And then as I come, so I probably had an underhook here. As I come under, I want to concave my chest, make a little room just to snake my hand through, and then I'm coming right back down on top of my forearm, through to here. Okay. All right. Secondly, some of you guys, I didn't cover this, so I'm seeing there's like some of this that's not really doing a whole lot to him, and it's going to make you feel like you have to squeeze. This elbow here is going to stay stationary, the left elbow, right? My choke arm is the one that I'm going to retract, which is my right elbow in this case. My left elbow is going to stay locked, and my right is going to move. So this actually gets active because as I rotate my spine, it wants to follow. So imagine I'm actually pulling my elbows apart as I rotate my spine so that this elbow can stay in place. Here, here, and then as I rotate, I have to keep driving this elbow away so they can stay right. So basic back drills. First off, hooks and a seatbelt. This is like classic back control. All right, like this is like 101. If you don't know where to start with controlling the back, start here. Let's worry about getting what we call a seatbelt. I reach over. I got one overhook, one underhook. I grab my own wrist. We always grab the overhook because that's our choke hand, right? So as he goes to defend the top arm, he goes to pull the top hand away. Yep. This one can come up, right? So this is a classic seatbelt. I've got my hooks in, right? In competition, you're not going to get scored for a back take and back control unless your hooks are in. I'm not getting points right now. I'm getting points now. Okay. Other details here, getting head to head with him, right? Keeping our spines centered. His way out is breaking this alignment, getting all centered with me. That's how he starts to escape. I keep the control by keeping our spines aligned. All right. I also, one of the ways that we're going to keep there's a lot of things that are going into keeping this alignment, but bare bones basics is going to be my head position first off. I'm going to be ear to ear with him, and my chin is in here tight. I'm not back here because this allows his head to turn freely. When I get here, it's much harder for him to turn his head. Right? It's much harder just by that little bit of space being taken up because he can't initiate any spinal rotation. Second detail, biggest detail, probably is your elbow position. I want my overhooked elbow to be right here in front of this other shoulder, not back here. Right, this is too shallow. This is better. I want this elbow, my underhook elbow, to be kind of right behind in his lap, pinching in. So I'm actually trying to take my elbows together. And just this with no grip is pretty good control if my head's in the right position. Go ahead. Right. That's without even locking the grip. So you can actually drill this. Let's go ahead. Actually, let's go back and do that. Let's say, go ahead and get your position, get your head position, get what you think is the good elbow position, and just start pinching this elbow in, pinching this elbow in, and trying to hold a position for 3 seconds while they try to escape. All right. That sound good? We do it with no resistance for a couple rounds, like just a couple reps, and then actually try to do it with a little resistance so you can feel how to stay aligned. What you want to do on the back is stay centered. All right. Don't let their head start rotating. Don't let them start getting like this. All right. Real quick, let's talk about just the actual, like when we set the choke. So he's never just going to be giving us this, right? So we're going to have grips. We're going to have defensive grips come into play. We have to deal with that. We're also going to have a tough chin. So even if I take down here and we start beating grips and all this good stuff, even if I beat the grips, still going to have a tough chin, okay? So this is the reality of trying to actually finish somebody. So first thing that we're going to do to deal with this is the good old, what's that? Saw. The good old jugular slice, all right? Knuckle, thumb inside,
right? I'm gonna take in right here at the jugular, and I'm not gonna go out. I'm gonna go through. Right? And it's gonna hurt, especially if they have a beard. And then you see how I'm immediately kind of rounding the corner with my hand, and I'm finding my own hand. All right.
Show it again.
Give it to me. It's not fair. But you just need to have all.
No, I'm showing Chad.
We're screwed.
All right.
So we got a tuck. He's taking me down.
He's beating the hands. You got a tuck chin. Does anyone know what mistake you made?
Open your fan.
He entered too low. He entered like right down here on my chin instead of on my actual leg. Yeah, go through, don't go out. Yeah, that sucks.
So we're entering right there on the jugular, not down here and under the chin, and we're going through. All right. And some guys are just still gonna eat that. Okay. Like, yeah. I probably won't. All right. It just hurts, and I'm just like, yeah, you can have it. I don't care. But some people are gonna eat that. But that's one method. All right. I'm not gonna give you too much. We're gonna go with that one today. I can give you another one next class. Okay. Let's talk about actual the rest of the control now, right? So if my goal is to stay centered within, when I fall to a side, and which side you fall to, really dealer's choice. For now, tonight, I was wanting to fall to your underhook side. Okay. There used to be a camp of saying one is better than the other, and it's really not that. There's just trade-offs between like what's advantageous on either side, right? So right now, we're gonna fall to the underhook side. The next thing I'm gonna do immediately is these are just classic hooks I have, right? But I really would like to get his diagonal hip. I really want to focus my control on the diagonal hip more than I just want to sit here and like curl back. I can't sit here and curl in my legs like this, but I have way better control with way less output if I focus on a hip. So best form of this is I ride my foot down as I curl my bottom foot in. I ride it down with my top foot enough to lock a body lock, and then I move to the outside. And I sometimes have to wiggle it so I can really get my knee bit. You may not have mobility for this, and that's totally fine. On some guys, I can't get this. It's just going to depend on you and your body and them and their body. But if you can get this, this is always best. Top side, body lock, or body triangle, okay? And we're going to hide our foot. We're not going to keep it on the inside. This is just mechanically, yeah, I mean, he can start breaking it pretty easily, and mechanically, it's just not nearly as tight as transitioning to the outside and hiding the foot. All right, but if you can't get this, next best thing we can do is over these classic hooks, is I can move my heel up to the hip, and I'm kind of pushing forward, almost like I'm stomping his quad, and I'm going to curl in this one, right? And I'm just going to meet right here on the hip, all right? That's the next best method of control. Last thing we can do is just start to weave through the legs here. As long as all I want to do is lock down that far hip. I've got this underhook here that gives me a lot of control on this side of the body. I've got my head in a good position. The last thing I want to do to have diagonal control and really shut down his ability to move any direction is control the far hip. It's the same thing that we're trying to do when we pin in at side control. We're trying to shut down. It's like seatbelt pressure. We want to pin one shoulder and pin the far hip. Okay.
What happens if he controls the left arm and the left leg? It just spins out of it. With no control. He can roll. Oh, you mean this? Yeah. He can spin. Yeah, he's pretty mobile at this point. Like he needs to get out. Yeah, he gets back to the ball.
Does that make sense? All right, let's feel this. That's all I want you to do. I want you to start with your seatbelt. I want your elbows to be in the right position, your head to be in the right position. And then I want you to take them to the underhook side. As we fall over, I want you to find that far hip, either with a body triangle or with just bringing the heels up to the hip. All right? Like this or like this. All right? Same thing as last time. first two, no resistance, and then do a few with some resistance, and make sure that you can still keep your spines in alignment. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Chad.
Hey, JC, on the one we just did, you said fall to the underhook side.
Yeah, that's what we're doing tonight.
Is there any way to control that to fall either way?
I mean,
Same people doing that you could go to the underhook side, but why would you go the other way?
there's gonna be trade-offs if we go to the overhook side, but like we're gonna have easier times trapping limbs, things like this.
Okay.
But right now, tonight, I just want to fall to the underhook.
I got you.
And so with you being the taker of the back, the initiator here, usually you can dictate where we're going, but there's a possibility that like they really fight you, they want to go to the overhook side. That's totally fair and possible, I guess. But generally, when I take someone's back, I can dictate a lot more where they're headed than they can. I'll do a move forward. So here, what I want to do next is we fall over. I've got my diagonal control. My head's in the right position. Go ahead and get defensive grips. All right. So the next thing we've got to worry about is grip fighting. All right. So he's going to be, especially if he knows what he's doing, he knows that this is the hand I'm going to choke him with, right? It's the one that's closest to his neck. So go ahead and do 2-on-1 on that grip or on the choking. Yeah. So this is good defensive stuff. Have one up 3 high. I forgot to grab. Yes. Yeah. So this is a good defensive grip for him. He got two. Yes, he has a 2-on-1 on my actual choke hand, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to roll this hand through. I'm going to look to grab under the thumb and kind of place all the rest of my hand over all 4 of his fingers and look to pry up. Right? So go ahead and get there. I'm going to look to pry up, pry the thumb off. That's what's holding this grip in place. That whole grip is really held in place by this thumb. So I'm going to insert my thumb. You'll see me come under. I'm going to place the rest of my fingers over his knuckles, and I'm going to roll my wrist and pry off. At the same time, I'm going to look to push and pull at the same time. Okay. So this is one of those things where we want to do it in unison. So I got my seatbelt. I roll my wrist through. I get my thumb under his thumb. I cover his knuckles, and I'm going to push and pull at the same time. Right? And then sometimes go ahead and finish this with one arm even sometimes. But once I've got the choke set, now I know I'm in the sweet spot. Now I can do it and start coming out and going back to what we just ran. Okay. So that's the one grip fight that this is the only sequence I want you to do tonight. And we'll do a couple more next class. So they're going to get a 2-on-1 on your choke arm. Yep, good. You got a seatbelt. Let's start from the seatbelt here. I'm going to take my underhook arm. I'm going to rotate inside. I'm going to get my thumb under his thumb. Everything else is the same, right? My head's in the right position. My elbow's in a good position. I've got his hips. Getting my thumb under his thumb. Fingers cover his knuckles. And I'm going to roll my wrist forward like this as I push my arm down and pull my top arm up. Okay? I hit you. Right. And we're looking to sink that choke as deep as we possibly can. And then we can figure out where to work from here. We can go and start the finish, or sometimes you can take it to the other side if you want, trap the other arms, whatever you want to do. But that's what I want you to do tonight, is work on that push-pull, straight into this, and then fighting your hand. Okay? Any questions on that? 1, 2, 3.